Welcome to the Grow People podcast. David Stein, along with lead pastor of Revolution Church, Jason Gertis. Purpose of the Grow People podcast is to help grow people. Podcast is part of our discipleship here at Revolution Church. We have a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. First, we want to say hi to Logan. Logan is a young man that you met one time. He is I've met him many times, but listener of the GPP.
Yes, he's the one who codified the GPP.
Yeah. And he sent an email this week. He had mocked up some merch for us because he had heard that we didn't have any GPP merch.
I didn't even think about it, honestly, until he emailed that.
Yeah, and they're great. Using Trust God and Take a Nap.
Yeah.
The King Has One More Move.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh, yeah. It was the king from a chessboard.
Gotcha.
And it was the King Has One More Move. So cool. Thank you, Logan.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Second thing, way to stir up some strife on the last podcast. I can't go anywhere without somebody saying, "Oh, I guess you're not the best athlete in the church."
I don't know if I stirred up strife, other than I just pointed out the truth.
Yeah.
But yes, we've had many conversations with give a kid a chance, being around and talking with people. But, it's just a chance to publicly rebuke you. That's all it is. Like it's
well, thank you.
I think, as they say, when we are public people.
Yes.
And so your confession has to be as white as your sin,
Ooh.
And so, I felt since it was stated on here, I felt like it needed to be a public rebuke on here.
I received that.
Yeah.
I believe.
I mean, I followed Matthew 18. I went to you.
You did.
I just did it on air.
You did. You did it publicly. You did it with the whole church.
Yeah.
Second thing, how cool was that? And were you even aware of it? But how cool is it that you're preaching, you begin to come to the end of the message on Thursday night, and your daughter comes up and plays the keys during the prayer?
It's pretty cool, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was talking to some people. We apparently, unbeknownst to Natalie and I, we kind of matched our pants, and she was wearing like a pink shirt, and I'm wearing a salmon, whatever. So the coolest thing to me was like, Natalie said, "Dad, we matched," and she was genuinely excited about that. She wasn't, grossed out by that or whatever. But yeah, it's very cool, man. Like, having her there, like I don't ever want to point her out too much or embarrass her with it, But Natalie's always been, of my two kids, Natalie's always been the one that liked when I said things in the sermon, about a story about her or whatever. And so, but now it's like, it's cool. Like I don't have to say anything. It's just like, there she is,
Yeah.
And so she works really hard, man. She's super talented and gifted at that.
Yes. Yep.
But I do try to not think about it too much in the moment. Like I gotta stay pastor right now, not dad.
Yeah.
Or else I'll get emotional.
It was very cool. And then, about a month ago, Lindsay was singing on the worship team.
Yes.
And Natalie was playing keys.
I was not here for that. I did get to see it online. But now and this will be a public encouragement, not a rebuke. But Jackson played drums and was taking lessons here for a while in Grow Band, and he kind of fell out of that. So now we're all trying to like publicly pressure him to get back into drums so that like on a weekend he can play drums, Nat keys, Lindsay sings, I preach. Then it's just a family affair. Man.
That would be so awesome. That
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go on the road after that.
I think so. Well, I'm sure the Elliott family singers will give you a run.
They can already do it.
Yeah. Chad has been playing guitar and singing lead, and then Christy has been on the bass.
Yeah.
And then of course, Nina sings and is one of our worship leaders. Yeah. So very cool stuff. Now on to the most important thing before we get to the fast and voices and the men's night and the women's night. We are recording this, by the way, after the Thursday night gathering. So it's very late at night. This is the late show. and that's not that late.
I was going to say, it's not very, I didn't want to publicly rebuke you a second time.
Yeah, it's 8:45 p.m.
It is late.
In my world, that's late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in like after daylight savings time, this will be very late.
Yes.
This has been dark for 3 hours.
So we're recording this the Thursday night before the fast begins. So just a heads up on that. But in a couple weeks, Pastor Jason and Chad and I will be going to see what God is doing in Scotland, kind of following up on the young adult mission trip. And I thought we had talked about this. So I've been very excited for the last 3 weeks. I have been practice packing.
Yeah.
And I thought we had talked about we weren't going to have checked bags. So I've been practice packing with my carry-on and just a backpack, trying to get everything I need for a trip to Scotland where the weather can be anything on any given moment. And I wasn't publicly rebuked for this, but I was mocked privately that I have been practice packing.
You were mocked or questioned?
I received it as mocking.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what I said. I just was surprised. I was like, what did I say? Oh, that's great. I didn't know we were doing that.
Who doesn't practice pack?
No. Well, women do. Yes.
That was what you said.
That's what I said. Yes. Yeah.
See, not all.
I would say not all women, and a lot of men do too.
Well, yeah. Because
personalities.
Personalities and trauma-induced OCD caused me to practice pack.
Yeah.
So I know that I have this bag and I have this backpack and I have this clothes. So, I have a plan that when I go somewhere, like for the Kenya trip that I was on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was packed in November for a trip in February.
That's just so foreign to me, and so wild to me. And I get it. I mean, especially Kenya, Lindsay likes to take about a month to pack. But to me, honestly, Kenya is the easiest to pack for.
It should have been, but it was my first time.
It's your first time, but it's like, what's the weather? Hot. What's the weather? Dry. So you just need some Columbia pants or Magellan pants and shirt. That's it, and some socks. And I mean, I stress Lindsay out. Like last week I was in Florida for a couple of days. This week I was in Chicago for a couple of days. On Monday of this week, I flew out of Atlanta like 3:50 in the afternoon. I was packing at 11 a.m.
Oh, I would lose my mind.
Yes. Because, the way I pack is and typically, because I know if I have enough clean shirts and socks and underwear, that kind of stuff. So it's just sitting, normally it's sitting folded up in my basket, that from Lindsay and Nat folding the clothes. So I'll just grab some of those, throw them in there, grab some pants, throw them in there, some workout stuff, throw them in there. Then let's roll.
No, I have anxiety right now thinking about that. If I were an expecting dad and we were planning on going to the hospital to birth a baby, I would have been, man, people do that. They practice pack, they practice their route to the hospital, and that's all I'm doing. I'm a planner.
No, again, that's why I don't want to, I think it's great. I'm not against it. It's just I don't know, the fun, and maybe, I don't know if it's, clearly it's tied to my personality, but I think part of it for me, honestly, is like, I just really don't care what I wear. I don't think about it. Like to Lindsay's chagrin, like Lindsay just buys my clothes now and I just wear them. Cause if it were up to me, I'd preach in some tattered jeans and a white t-shirt every week. And I'd wear that every day. And so it's like, now this is I don't mean this to act like I'm some kind of savant, but it's like, was it Einstein that talked about like, he didn't even know his own home address or something, or his phone number or something. a reference to something like he was like, I don't need to memorize that. Like, I don't need to think about that because it's not important. Like I can write that down. So to me, like how I'm thinking is I'm not thinking about that.
Well, in your defense, you make a lot of decisions every day.
And maybe that's what I mean. It's not like laziness or I just don't want to think about it.
Yeah. And that's why I wear the same colors.
Yeah.
That's why my color palette is black, gray.
Which I thought we weren't doing anymore. I thought we were doing blues.
I have branched out.
You have?
Yeah.
You look good.
I'm only bringing I'm only bringing blue and gray to Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've laid out everything. I've practice packed. See, there's a system. You lay it out, you cut it down. So you lay it out all on the bed, and then you cut down what you can't take based on the size of the bag. Then you roll and fold, and then you fill the bag.
Well, you need to go get those vacuums.
Oh, I got those.
Like where you suck the air out and pack it in.
Yeah, I got the extra one. Yeah.
I have not bought those yet. That'll be because I hate checking bags. Checking bags.
Yeah, I don't want to check a bag.
And I don't check bags. Typically, unless it's international. And that's what made me laugh when you texted Chad and that. I'm like, oh, this is the one time where it's cool to check a bag, because we can go to the international terminal and you're good. So, I mean, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's all I was looking for.
That's all you're looking for. Yes, I know. And again, it's impressive. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want to, like, I'm not, although I may mess with you, like, I'm not like Lindsay. It's just, that's what she does. And I don't tell her she's crazy. I just don't think about it. Hey. And it doesn't, and especially if it's a domestic trip, international is a little different. But my mentality is like, well, I'll just buy it when I get there.
Yes. Yes. And I know there are stores in Scotland.
Yeah.
And that's
Scotland's a little different. Yeah. Because it's not like you have a Walmart or whatever.
Yeah. I'm not too worried.
Yeah.
I've packed a travel size detergent just in case there's laundry facilities. I don't know what I'm going to need.
There is where we stay. Yeah. There's a washer and dryer.
Like after Labor Day, I will have a Duraflame log in the back of my car because you never know when a fire pit's going to break out.
It's crazy.
From September to April, I will have a Duraflame log.
Well, and part of it too is, man, like, do you remember Sinbad the comedian?
I do.
One of my favorite.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Comedians. Like, honestly, 40 years ago, he might have been like the only clean comedian out there.
Yeah.
But he did this whole bit, and son of a preacher man, and that's part of his deal. But he did this whole bit about his clothes. Have we talked about this on?
I don't think so.
I don't think we've talked about it. Have we talked about it at all?
I don't think so.
Like his whole bit between how guys think about clothes, like there's dirty and there's funky. He was like, as a guy, how a guy, after we wear clothes, almost always goes on my closet floor, and then he was like, dirty. You pick it up, you smell it, it's
That's
dirty.
Right. Yeah,
you can wear it again.
Correct.
But if it's funky, that's when it needs to wash.
That's
so you smell
the rule.
Like Lindsay makes fun of me all the time. She's gonna hate that I'm saying this on here. But I'll because I always wear an undershirt, and so my outer shirt, I'll just smell the armpits, and I'm like, okay, that's funky. It needs to be washed. But so I say that to say, like, legit on a trip, I would just wear the same clothes until they got funky, and as long as I had underwear and socks, like
and I may not wear everything that I packed, but I got it into a carry-on and a backpack.
You're definitely not going to wear everything.
Lay it out, cut it down, roll and fold, pack the bag. That's it. Okay, just in case you're wondering. Okay, let's move on.
Well, Scotland, you can, like Kenya, you can't rewear because it is funky. Like you can't rewear that. But Scotland, it's normally cool unless it rains, which obviously it's likely to do. But yeah, whenever we go to that, I'll pack the day before.
I'm losing my mind right now. I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah. I mean, typically to Scotland, we fly out late at night. So I might even pack the day of in the morning. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm not hearing the voice of my shepherd right now. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about voices. There are several benchmarks in the life of our church. We have Abide at the beginning of the year and our 21 days of prayer and fasting and worship. We have Give a Kid a Chance. We have Hope for Christmas.
Easter.
Oh, Easter's kind of a benchmark. Yeah, Easter's a big deal.
Yeah.
And now for the second year, and this will become part of the rhythm, as you said, we will have Voices.
Yeah.
And we are starting Voices with a fast at the end of the month. We're in the middle of the fast right now. If you're listening to this, we're recording it right before the fast, but a 7-day fast. Mm-hmm. There's a fasting guide on the website.
Yeah, if you haven't downloaded it already.
Or on the app. It's really good. It's tied into abiding.
Yeah.
It's tying into listening to the voice of the shepherd. So let's talk about the fast. Let's talk about Voices and why this is such a benchmark in the life of the church.
Yeah, I was listening to, that felt like a deep breath there. I was listening to my sermon the first week of Voices last year. And what was cool is, I mean, it's always weird listening to yourself, but I'm used to it now. But I was listening to myself tell the church, hey, we're doing this for the first time. And I've been praying about it becoming, a yearly thing. And now we are. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's, and I referenced it this weekend. It's like Christmas in July, to where the great thing about Christmas is, we love it, family, gifts, but it's like, but I got to wait a whole nother year for that. So a lot of people now have like Christmas in July parties and all kinds of stuff, which I used to think when I was younger, it's just kind of hokey,
I don't. I was busy packing.
I'm sure you were. Yeah. It's your mid-year. But I think what's cool about it, though, now, not that I celebrate Christmas in July, I'm just saying, but like what I began to, and what was the genesis for a lot of this is like January, you can see January as the beginning of the 12 months, and it is. But then you can see July, like you can also see January as the beginning of the first 6 months, and then July is the beginning of the next 6 months.
Yep.
Like I was in Chicago this week with our outreach partner Exponential, and one of the guys there, a buddy of mine who pastors an urban church down in Atlanta, and I didn't get the chance to ask him a follow-up, but I'm going to. But he made this phrase. He said this statement. It was a room of denominational leaders and network leaders. He said he lives his day in 90-day. He lives his life in 90-day increments.
Wow.
And I thought about that, and basically what he's saying, he lives his life one quarter at a time, 4 quarters in a year. And I want to follow up with him to say like, okay, I get that concept, but what do you mean? Like, how do you do that? What does that mean? You live live your life 90 days at a time. So, like at 3 months, does that mean you take a couple days off? Does that mean you evaluate every 3 months, which I'm sure it involves several of these things,
right?
Or you schedule 3 months what do you mean by that? Regardless, the point that was intriguing to me was like, but it created, like, it broke down a year into 90-day increments in a way that it felt more manageable, more doable. And I'm not saying we're going to do that, but my point is, I think what we realized in the life of our church, once a year is not enough. Like Abide is great. The problem is by about halfway through the year,
right,
it kind of starts fading off, or it probably starts fading off a little bit after Easter, to be honest. And the summer is just the summer, there's no real fight in that as far as like, school calendars and that kind of stuff. So as we began to think about it and plan it, it's like, well, what if like August is always a big time? We've talked about that over the last few weeks and people coming back to church. Well, let's leverage that and let's do like Christmas in July. Even last year, I called it a mid-year check-in. So I've been saying that phrase, not that that's going to stick, but so the point is now is a good time to reevaluate your life, reevaluate if you created a rule of life in January. Now's the time to see how it's going. If you didn't, now's a great time.
Which you can do by just watching the Abide cohort videos.
Go through the cohort, download the cohort guide. We walk you through how to do that. So it just becomes a recalibration alignment in your car, and also, to be honest, it was like we wanted another excuse to do men's and women's nights again, to gather men and women together again. And we don't have as many signed up as we do for an Abide night. So if you're listening to this and if you haven't signed up, please sign up. You don't have to, it's not like if you don't sign up, you can't come. It just helps us plan. We're not doing check-in. But I'm hoping that takes on more, it took Abide nights a while to kind of get into that rhythm too. And I get it. I mean, people are busy, schools, all that kind of stuff. But like I told our church this weekend, and I even caught myself, I was like, you need to sign up. I was like, hold on. I don't want people to think like we need them to sign up.
Right.
We don't need it. Mm-hmm. They need it.
Yeah.
And I gave the example of that's like, you're trying to get 10,000 steps in a day. If I put I have a Whoop band. If I put that on my dog and let my dog run around and they get the steps just so I can check it off a list, it's like, well, I only cheated myself because I cut myself out of the process of actually not just quote unquote getting 10,000 steps, but becoming a person who walks, receiving the health benefits of it. Mm. So I say that to say to the men and women of our church, it's like anything. You're only going to get out of it what you actually put in. So what we want is we want to become a church that actually does a mid-year check-in. We want to be a church that at the beginning of the year sets a direction for ourselves, but then we evaluate how we're doing.
Yeah, and that's why we've been creating in discipleship a discipleship diagnostic tool.
Yes.
To be able to say, hey, I'm growing.
Yeah.
I'm not growing. I'm stagnant.
Yeah.
How am I doing?
Yeah. Evaluate yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. We're working on that based on our values of grow and my better understanding the gospel, my growing in relationships and obedience and works. And so again, I'm really hoping and praying, and we are as a team, that again, January and July will become anchors, like you were saying, for us in the life of our church and the life of your life. Those listening is like, and I used to think about this, and again, there's so many, talking about voices, so many things I used to think or tell myself. But it's like, losing weight, trying to lose weight or be healthy is the hardest to do in November and December because of all the holiday stuff, so I get it. The problem though becomes, since it's hard, then we tell ourselves, well, I'm just going to do it in January. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to wait. And then that way now I can enjoy November and December. I don't have to feel any pressure. I can eat whatever I want because I'm going to do it in January. Well, that's such a faulty mindset. And what I mean by that is like, it's okay to not start like the full thing in November and December, but you could have a better mentality or a better voice that says, yeah, but you know what I can do in November, December? I can practice portion control. I can enlist some help from people. There's some things that I can do to, even though I may not start fully till January, I don't have to wait is my point.
Yeah. So
for this, it's like, yeah, January is a great time to start some goals, but so is July. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this is the new year for the next 6 months.
And I have talked to many people that in anticipation of this mid-year fast, and we talked about it this morning, that there is a little bit of a buzz about this fast because it feels like there's more of a runway.
Yeah.
And people have been preparing themselves
I hope so.
For this fast. Whether you had the one too many hot dog on 4th of July, and then you came out of that and just began thinking about, all right, I don't want to go cold turkey on the first Monday of the fast. And you mentioned this in the sermon. Don't gorge on Sunday.
No, don't do Fat Sunday.
Yeah.
Like Mardi Gras. Well, I was talking to one of our leaders who I actually referenced in the sermon last week or 2 weeks ago. She's a teacher. And when I first announced this, fast, that's their in-service week.
Mm-hmm.
And, she said, why you got to do that to me? Why you got to do a fast and in-service? That's when everybody brings us snacks, So we were, and I asked her if I could share that. And so we laughed. But she actually told me this weekend, she's like, hey, I had this idea, and I wanted to share it with you. So thank you for challenging us. She's like, I decided that during in-service week, every time I'm tempted to eat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the roster of my kids this year and pray for them.
Mm.
She's like, I'm going to pull out the roster and every time I'm going to pray. And she's like, so now I'm excited about it. She said, because, she said, I always pray for the school year. And that. She's like, but I haven't taken time to pray over the names of the students that are going to be in my room. And I was like, see, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do that, So I say this to any teachers out there, any administrators, take that week, pray for the names of kids, pray for the schools. If you're not a teacher, pray for your kids, pray for kids in our church, kids in our schools. Again, it's, as I said this weekend, fasting is not so much, yes, it is about food and not eating, but it's not about, and it was our students who said this, it's about, what's the phrase? What are you, fasting from and what are you praying for? Yeah. So it's not just about what you're fasting from. It's about what you're praying for.
Yeah.
It's about
taking out and then replacing.
Yeah. It's feasting on the word of God. Like Jesus said, I've got food that you don't know about. And, I always joke, the disciples were thinking who brought this dude chicken nuggets? Where did he get food? And Jesus is like, you don't know, my food's to do the will of God. So my point is, honestly, that's why, and I was talking to the same lady. She's like, I'm growing to love these times. She said, because we never talked about this in church. I'm like, oh, girl. Again, I didn't grow up in church, but then when I went, it was a Southern Baptist church, and we don't fast. We did potlucks. You know what I mean? We feasted. And I'm all for that. So I'm not against potlucks, but it's but we never talked about fasting.
Mm-mm.
We talked about fellowship a lot, but not fasting. And so that's why I think it's important for us to do. And again, it's very clear, not only is there a spiritual discipline, but there's spiritual power.
There is. And here's some encouragement. If you're listening to this and it's midweek of the fast and you've already broken your fast,
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. God is not looking for your perfection.
Yeah.
He's the one who's perfect.
Yeah.
So we don't have to be. And I've told this story before of one of our abide fasts, and I was just eating vegetables. Mm-hmm. So it was more of a Daniel fast, and went out to a Thai restaurant and ordered the vegetable dish.
Yeah.
And it came covered in chicken.
Yeah.
And I looked at the dish and I looked up and I looked around. I looked at the dish. I looked up again. It was delicious.
Yeah.
and I wasn't thinking, oh, I've failed. Oh, this is the worst fast ever. I just got right back on it.
Totally.
So if you have messed up your fast, get right back on it. It's not about perfection.
It's not, and I'm not correcting you because I'm glad you said that. It's not about messing it up that's
no,
and that's what I'm saying. I'm glad you said that because I do think you're right. That's how we think, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We think I failed.
Yeah.
I messed it up. I whatever. It's I remember talking to a lady in our church. This is probably 14 years ago. She was an alcoholic, got into AA, had gotten sober. And I think she'd gone a solid 18 months without drinking, just flying high, doing great. Well, then we didn't see her for about a month. And then she came back and she just disheveled, very shamed. And she came back, literally her head down. And she said, I failed. I drank again. Now I got to start all over. I said, no, time out. You're saying you failed. I said, do you realize you just went 18 months and you only drank once?
Yeah.
You only drank once in 18 months. And like when I told her that, her countenance changed. She's like, I didn't even think about it that way. So yeah, the goal is to drink less often.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to be a straight line. That's not
Right.
going to be like the goal, and particularly in that, obviously, because it can kill you, you know. But I say that to say with fasting, the goal is not legalistically 7 days no eating. And like you can get to the end of 7 days and don't eat and not be any closer to Jesus.
Yeah, you're just hungry.
You're just hungry.
That's called a diet.
That's just called calorie deprivation. That's all it's called. Now, there's health benefits to that, sure. But again, I get caught up. And that's why I say I'm glad you actually said that, because the goal is not don't eat for 7 days. The goal is I'm not eating for 7 days so that when I get hungry, it reminds me to feast on Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is you need to fast enough, be hungry enough to where there's something you desire that then forces you, and Jesus says this, like, help me to want you more than my necessary food.
Yes. John Piper says fasting is saying, I want God more than my belly.
Yes. Yeah. It's us retraining our stomachs that are, they are selfish and stubborn, spoiled.
And the only reason I ate the chicken on that Thai dish was I didn't want to argue with the sovereignty of God. It was placed in front of me for a purpose.
Yes. Well, again, it's like that of, that's funny. Like, is God mad that you ate chicken? Or is God delighted in the fact that you have set aside time to be with him?
Yeah, that's good.
And now clearly, I don't want to minimize, like if God commands you, don't eat chicken, and you break that command, okay, now we got a problem. You know what I mean? Like, because you do read in the Bible, there's some things that God told some people that are just weird, go march around Jericho for a day and blow a trumpet, 7 times, like some weird. So like what I'm saying is what we're talking about is if God commanded you to do something and you didn't, then you can be disobedient.
Mm-hmm.
But even then you repent but fasting is not about perfect obedience versus disobedience. And I said this weekend, abiding in the vine is obeying the voice. And that's true. When it comes to fasting, it's not about perfect record or perfect whatever. It is about, and I've had those same moments, man. Like there are times when I was fasting and someone gets in and I hadn't had Chick-fil-A in 2 weeks and man, there's a nugget, So I get it. But again, the point is in the life of our church, again, we're just adding fasting in as a spiritual element, a discipline, so that we can pray. And part of what we're praying about is, Lord, help me hear your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Lord, help me obey your voice. Help me bring alignment to my life. What areas of my life am I not obeying you? I mean, and so when you're hungry and you're asking those questions, now you're desperate and God will speak to you.
Mm. Abiding in the vine requires obeying the voice. And we start out the year with abiding in the vine, with abide. And then mid-year checkup is about the voice. You're going to write a book someday.
Lord willing.
Yep. Who's going to play you in the movie?
I don't even know what that means. Yeah. I mean, again, what and part of it is, and I joked, even all the alliteration this weekend with the sheep and being dumb. And part of it, what I love about that is it's like 2 words that start with a V, the vine and the voice. But when I first said that, and I think you were one of the first people I said that phrase to, it just became a very tangible way
yes.
for me to think about, because again, abiding in the vine can be very ethereal. It can be very abstract as a thought. How do I abide in the vine? Well, remain close to Jesus. Well, how do I remain? And we try to give handles around that. But then it hit me as we were putting these two things together. Abiding is obeying. If I'm going to remain with Jesus, I got to follow him. Well, following him is obeying him, and I got to hear his voice. So that would be like my kids. If we're at a Braves game or at a public place, my kids are like, "Oh, that's my dad," and someone says, "Well, your dad's saying come over here." Oh yeah, I don't listen to him. I'm going over here. Well, but that's your dad, right? Like, yeah, that's my dad, but I don't listen to him. Well, and I think that what becomes powerful about that concept is what I want people in our church to think is, can I really say I'm abiding in Jesus if I'm not obeying him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like and again, I don't want to make anybody question their salvation. That's not the point. But again, using this as I do want us to wrestle with oh man, there's some areas in my life where I'm saying Jesus is my leader, but I'm not following in him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you referenced Jesus saying he's the shepherd and we are the sheep, and the sheep are going to the alliteration, dumb, defenseless, directionless, and in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah. Which leads to death. Yeah.
And a couple things that really struck me about the sermon: the less we act like sheep, the more we minimize the shepherd.
Yeah, the more, because I get it, Jesus calling us sheep is not flattering, So me telling the church Jesus is calling you sheep is Jesus and me saying you're dumb. You are defenseless. You are directionless. Now, to our church out there, don't forget I'm a sheep too.
Right.
We're
all sheep.
We're all sheep. There's Jesus and the rest of us. So I'm saying this about myself. But my point, yes, in saying that is Jesus is not just making fun of us. Jesus is stating facts. Jesus, as the kids say, facts. Jesus is stating reality. And reality, as I said, Henry Cloud quoted, is our friend. So it actually does me no good. It does us no good to act like I'm anything other than sheep. Because if I try to act like I'm a lion, well, all I'm doing is minimizing the role of the shepherd in my life. I'm saying I don't need you. So actually me leaning into my sheepness, us leaning into and being honest about, I'm dumb. I'm defenseless. I'm directionless because I'm in the dark. I don't know. Again, it's not Jesus. Jesus is making a moral statement, but Jesus isn't making fun of us. Jesus isn't minimizing us. Jesus isn't, because he clearly said, I lay down my life for the sheep. Well, if the shepherd is trying to lay down his life for the sheep, then why would I not want to be the sheep?
Yeah.
Why would I, it'd be like my kids again, well, if you want the benefit of being my child, which means I'm going to pay for everything, then why would you fight me? Why would you not listen to me? Because I love you and I'm going to lay down my life for you. So yeah, and it's funny. And I didn't really think about that until I preached it, where it just became well, now I'm just stating the obvious of, when I'm acting like I'm not a sheep, then I'm dismissing the role of the shepherd.
Because the shepherd, and this was one of your points, the shepherd leads us out of something and into something.
Yeah, he leads us out of and into. And then we looked at 1 Peter 2, where, and I'll come back to 1 Peter a couple of times throughout this series of messages, because Peter calls Jesus the chief shepherd in chapter 5, and speaking about elders in 1 Peter 5, he says, as pastors and elders, we are under shepherds. Mm-hmm. And so he said, shepherd the flock of God among you. And when the chief shepherd appears, we'll get the unfading crown of glory. So that theme is through there, even though I would have never thought that chapter 2 was really referring about a shepherd. But when you see it, when you see Jesus says in John 10, my sheep know my voice. I call them by name. They know my voice, and I lead them out. Well, I start thinking naturally, well, what's he leading me out of? Well, 1 Peter 2 says he's leading me out of darkness.
Out of the darkness.
And into his marvelous light. And so when I see that, everybody knows inherently light is better than dark.
Yep.
Because if right now, and we actually did this at mission camp at the end of middle school and high school, turned off the lights in the auditorium because I was talking about, it was about the I am statements, and Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness because he's the light. And so darkness is not a thing. Darkness is the absence of a thing. That's why when light shows up, darkness, it's not like darkness leaves. It's just the thing is there now, and so light, as I've said many times, good and evil, God and Satan, it's not the Asian version of the yin and yang. And there's epic battle. All God has to do is turn on the light, and he is the light. He's just got to show up.
And it always wins.
And he always wins. And so my point in saying all that is Jesus, the reason why it actually is helpful to acknowledge I'm dumb, I'm defenseless, and I'm directionless is because I'm just acknowledging reality. I'm in the dark. And in the dark, I am always the most vulnerable because I can't see.
Right.
You could slap me and I don't know where it's coming from. You can scare me. You can trip me. You can defeat me because I don't know where it's coming from. I'm going to trip over. How many times have we all done this? I've tripped over the edge of my bed or a bench or a chair or a shoe, or you stepped on a Lego in the dark because you can't see. Well, the beauty of having a shepherd who is leading us out of that and into the light, he is the light. Well, now we can see.
And what you're saying is there's danger in the dark.
There's danger in the dark. And so there's, sheep are dumb because they don't have the capacity. So it would actually be dumb for the shepherd to tell the sheep, hey, get smart. Well, they can't. They don't have the ability to. So the cool thing is when we follow the shepherd now does for the sheep what the sheep can't do for themselves. He turns the lights on. So I can be a sheep who is smart because I have a shepherd who is smart. I can be a sheep who is defended because I have a defender. I can be a sheep who now has direction because my shepherd knows where to go. So when I think about it like that, well, the greatest thing in the world is to be a sheep.
One thing that you followed up with was when we live in the dark, and if we lived our entire life in the darkness, light becomes that word from 1 Peter.
Marvelous.
Marvelous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think about anytime we're living in the dark, but you think about your moment of salvation, if you remember that we went from darkness into this marvelous light. He took us out of that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everything changed.
Yeah.
And people use the description, I was living in a black and white world. Now everything's in color.
Yeah.
Because the light is shined.
Mm-hmm.
Shown.
Yeah. And I think I don't want to say downside because that's not true. But take you, for example. The good thing about what happened in your life is you lived 40 plus years in the dark.
Mm.
So when Jesus turned on the light of salvation in your heart, as 2 Corinthians 4 says, you saw the image of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. When that happened, you now became so keenly aware of how precious and marvelous the light is because you'd lived in the dark so long. And you experienced a lot of darkness. The only downside, again, I don't want to say downside, but what can happen to a person who was saved earlier in life is they really haven't experienced quite yet the full depth of their darkness. So what can happen is you have somebody that gets saved when they're younger. They haven't even fully grasped yet their full capacity to sin as marvelous as they can. You know what I mean? Like to a 6-year-old, sinning is very narrow.
Right.
It's very innocent and not innocent, but like it's simple. Like there's not like I punched my sister or I disobeyed my parents or now I'm not saying clearly a 6-year-old can be saved. John Piper got saved at 6. But what can happen, I think this is actually quite fascinating. I'm thinking about it. What can happen to a believer is later in their life, you can't lose your salvation, but you can definitely be disillusioned. So I think a believer in their 20s and 30s can actually become disillusioned by the darkness that's in them. Now they're actually starting to experience how dark their heart really always was. They just didn't know it yet.
Right.
And so this is when you'll take, and Lindsay and I have had this conversation because, again, Lindsay grew up in church, was saved young, and it took her a while because she was always like, what did God save me from? Well, the difference is like, it's not like God saved you from more than her.
Right.
You just had experienced the depth of the darkness already.
A lot of it.
Yes. But God also saves, when he saves people younger, he's also saving them from their future darkness. Yours was just past.
Right.
So it's still darkness. But my point is, I know for me, I mean, I got saved as a teenager. And I was, I'd done some stuff, but I hadn't lived as much life. And then you get older and you realize, oh my gosh, I really am dark-hearted. Man, I really am a sinful person.
Yeah.
And when that happens to you, because it's going to happen, that's when you begin to realize even more the mercy God has shown you, the grace. So it doesn't mean you weren't saved. You have been saved, but it just means now you understand the depth of it more because you understand how dark your heart really is. So as sheep, again, when I say reality is our friend, just be honest about the fact that your heart is dark. Be honest about the fact that without Christ, you have no light. And thank God that he saved you from the dark. And he's constantly, he always is leading us out of the dark. Because again, sheep have a tendency, we all have a tendency to go back to it, to go back to the dark. And Jesus never gets tired of leading us out of the dark. He's always and forever leading us out of and into.
And even at the end of the passage that you were preaching from John 10 this past weekend, talking about Jesus is actually speaking to them. They're hearing the voice of the shepherd, but they don't recognize it.
Yeah, because the problem is it's not the only voice. There's the voice of the shepherd and the stranger. Because in verse 5, he says, a stranger they won't listen to. They won't follow because they will flee because they don't know his voice. Well, the moment you look at that, you're like, okay, well, if they don't know his voice, then what that means is that's another voice. So one of my points was there's only two voices, the voice of the shepherd, the voice of the stranger. And again, honestly, I had to restrain myself this weekend not to get into 1 Corinthians 2 yet.
Yeah. You gave us a little teaser.
I gave us a teaser because I want to really dig into it next week, which is just kind of a cool throwback since we're in 1 Corinthians still. Like the natural self, the natural man, as Paul calls it there. Like it's realizing that the problem with us is the stranger's voice is not strange to us. It's normal. It's natural.
The stranger's voice is the algorithm we're fed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's both. I mean, the Bible has the world, the flesh, and the devil. And I said this, like, it'd be so easy to think that the stranger is only Satan. And I'm not saying he's not. But it's almost like, it's like when I joked about when we were growing up, we thought every unmarked white van was there to kidnap us.
That was hysterical.
Yes.
And coming from you that owned a white van.
Yes. Not that kind of van.
It was a Toyota.
I had a minivan.
It was a Toyota.
Yeah, I had a minivan, not a full size. Like that's not the only way strangers showed up, So when we think of strangers, we can just think of the devil, or we can just think of the world, or we can just think of our flesh, but it's all. So there's a stranger is any voice that's not the shepherd. There's the shepherd's voice and then all the others, But the problem is I read out of the commentary, but God, that was so good. It was like, if the sheep fails to discern the shepherd's voice, they die.
That was so good.
So our problem becomes, I'm headed in darkness. I'm headed to death. And I have to realize Jesus is not a voice. It's the voice. Every other voice that I'm telling myself, that my flesh is telling me, the world is the algorithm is telling me, the devil's telling me, they're all leading to the same place. And so this idea that people say that our culture says, I'm born this way, or this is what feels natural to me. Okay, I get that. And I don't have to argue with you. I don't think we as Christians need to spend any time arguing. Like, I remember one time a friend of mine in ministry, she helped lead a very significant ministry. And she was asking me a question. She's from Texas and we got to be friends. She's about 20 years older than me. And this was probably about, 20 years ago, 50. And I remember Oprah had done a session, which is kind of funny to talk about. And she was talking about how, like alcoholism, they've determined there is a DNA component to that. Like because it changes your DNA, like it can be genetic. And it was a conversation that was going around that time about same-sex attraction, like, is that genetic? And I remember she asked me, she was like, well, what would you think then if it is? I said, wouldn't change my thought at all. She goes, what do you mean? I said, listen, my father's an alcoholic. I'm predisposed to that, but I still have a choice. I might be predisposed to all kinds of things. My mother loved Rocky Road ice cream. I'm predisposed to love Blue Bell. I'm Texan. It's still a choice. And the thing that amazes me, and I've said this many times, is we live in a pro-choice culture, and yet it's our pro-choice culture that tells us we're slaves to ourselves. So I have no problem, honestly, biblically with the idea of someone says, I was born this way, or this feels natural to me. Okay. There's a lot of things that feel natural to me that are foreign to Jesus.
Yeah.
As Paul said, we'll get into this next week, they're spiritually discerned. So only the spiritual man or woman can follow the voice of the shepherd. So, of course, my natural self, or the things, again, it may feel natural to me when someone hurts me that I want to fight back. That's very natural, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Go back 1 minute to use your phrase, don't hear what he didn't say. He wasn't saying that this is a pro-choice church. He said we live in a pro-choice culture.
I said that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And by that, I mean, like, and we've talked about this, like, I am pro-choice in the sense that God gives us a choice.
Yes.
No, but we're unashamedly a pro-life church when we talk about.
Just want to make sure.
Of course, I'm glad you clarified that. We believe life begins at conception. But my point is, it's ironic to me that we live in a pro-choice culture that then says we have no choice. Well, I was born this way. I have no choice.
Right.
Yes, you do. And by grace, through faith, we all have a choice to do something that's not natural, which Jesus said, deny yourself, take up your cross, follow me. So what I think following the shepherd looks like is it looks like a sheep saying, naturally I'm a sheep, but my shepherd is going to enable me to do unsheep-like things, and I have a choice in that.
Yeah.
I can listen to his voice, or I can listen to the voice of the stranger and just keep being dumb and defenseless and directionless. That's going to lead to death.
Yeah. And the bottom line of this entire series is follow the shepherd and flee from the stranger.
Yeah. Which voice, what we want our church, again, going back to the beginning with fast and like a mid-year check-in, I want everyone in our church to ask yourself this question: whose voice am I following? Which then leads to another question, which Jesus, or the Father, in Genesis 3 asked Adam, who told you that? Who told you were naked? The problem with our first parents is they listened to the wrong voice. Yep. And so I think we all have to understand that the attack is always on the word of God. It's always on, and when you see when Satan, whether he was a literal snake or not, doesn't matter. What the point is he attacked God's word, and he said that it's like, what's the old TV show Family Matters, Urkel, when he was like, did I do that? I always picture Satan like Urkel. Satan's like, did he say that?
Nobody's doing Urkel material.
No,
you're the only one.
Yeah. They're definitely not doing it as a part of a sermon or a podcast.
No.
To make a theological point about Genesis 3. I think all of us, again, my goal in this series is all of us to be like, did God tell me that? Would my shepherd say that to me? Because what he wouldn't do is he would never lead me out of the light and into the darkness. He'd never do that. And I remember this thought really started coming to life to me when Lindsay and I got married. And Lindsay, not only like you, likes to prepare and packing, but Lindsay is in her head a lot. And that can be typical of most women, because women use more words than men. And so therefore more words are going through their brain at any given point in a day than men. And so Lindsay would have these thoughts and she would think these things and she would tell me that. I'm like, hold on, who told you that?
Right.
Would Jesus tell you that? Would Jesus do that? And it just became a powerful discipleship moment to where, and again, I'm not trying to say I was such a great husband. I'm just trying to say there's power in asking what God asked our first parents.
There's huge power in that question. I have a friend that we're in accountability together with, and he'll catch himself listening to the voice of the stranger.
Yeah,
and before I can even say anything. I know. Who's telling me that?
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Because it's working the who's telling me that muscle.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's our problem. Like all of us, when we look back on our dumb, sheepish moments,
Many.
And we ask ourselves this question: what was I thinking?
Yep.
The problem is we weren't.
Right.
We weren't critically thinking. We were just doing what felt natural, what felt normal, we were just reacting, but how important it is, and I've talked about this in the Psalms, that Selah, the break, which again, a musical break and a theological break, like how much more freedom and power we experience in our life if we could insert a 5-second break, a 5-second Selah in between what I just read and what I'm about to post.
Ooh.
In between this person just cut me off in traffic and how I'm about to respond. In between my spouse said this and I'm about to say that.
Selah.
Yeah, exactly. In between my flesh wants this, and how I'm going to, like in that moment, if we can just take a second and be like, is that the voice of the shepherd? Would he tell me that? Is this thing that I want to do or say, would I do this in the light?
Yeah.
Would I do this with Jesus standing right there?
Is Jesus telling me to look at this on the internet?
Yeah. And even, it's funny, the Bible even says in Ecclesiastes and elsewhere, I believe, Hebrews, like, we sin in the dark because we think, and the psalmist says it, we think that the darkness is somehow a cover for no one knows what I'm doing. Ruh-roh Scooby, the Bible says that darkness is like light to him. He sees it. I mean, the scariest verse in the whole Bible to me is in Hebrews 4, where it says, everything will be laid bare, and we will stand literally, not just saying physically naked before the Lord, but I will stand exposed to the Lord. Here's the thing. Everything will be brought to the light. Well, we might as well do it now when we can get mercy and not then when we get judgment. If we allow Jesus to bring us into the light now, as 1 Peter says, we'll get mercy and we'll be the people of God. If we wait until the end of our life, till after we die, then it's all brought into the light, we won't get mercy, we'll get judgment, and we will never be the people of God. So
this is all, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say, do it now when you can get mercy.
Yeah. And this is all why this is a benchmark moment in the life of the church.
Totally. Yeah. It becomes, again, a great time for us to ask and answer that question. Whose voice am I listening to? And am I following the voice of the shepherd and fleeing the voice of the stranger?
Well, if you want a transcript of today's podcast, write down everything we say, or just watch it on YouTube. There is a transcript. We have a big...
I was going to make a joke.
Okay. We have a big staff that is responsible for this podcast. Our producer is Brian Damerow. Our video technician is the King, Keon Sadishi. Our key grip is Jakub Pushkowski. Our film director is Mark Gos. That's your cue. You're supposed to say his last name.
I know. I was just going to leave you hanging. I was just inserting a Selah.
Well played.
Yeah.
Guardiola.
There it is. Our head of doctrine and theology is theologian. Our chief evangelist is salvation. Our backsliding prevention officer is lukewarm. Our director of Swedish witnessing is Bjorn again. Our expert on Russian eschatology, Pitov Hell. Our director of holiness is mortification. Our staff counselor is Les Moody. Our giving coordinator is generosity. Our nativity coordinator from France, Beth Lechem, French. Our co-pastors of Plagues, Manny Locust and Lance Boyles. Our sabbatical director is Trip Long. Our missional expert is Sam Aria. Our strategist for the final battle is Irma Gedden. Her name's Irma. Resident prayer warriors Neil Down. The executive director of spiritual warfare is Demonic. Our director of Old Testament covenants, knighted by the Queen, circumcised.
By the queen or the king now?
The king. Yeah. This is video technician in charge of instant replay is Slow Moses. Our director of New Testament baptism, which is coming up here at the end of
August.
In the end of August, Phil DeTub. Phil DeTub is our director of New Testament baptism. Our wardrobe is provided by Saul.
Just New Testament baptism.
Just New Testament.
Okay.
Yeah. Our wardrobe provided by Saul of Target. Our staff real estate expert is Simon the Zillow. Our director of Fig Leaf Design. Did you hear that one?
I don't remember now.
Yves Saint Laurent.
Yves what?
Yves Saint Laurent.
I don't know what that is.
He's a designer. Yves Saint Laurent. Yves.
Well, I've already told you I don't care about clothes, so I have no idea.
Okay.
I know no Ben and Jerry's, that's ice cream. I know Fruit of the Loom.
Head farmer and dietitian, Daniel Fast. Our chief estimator of Old Testament timelines is Ishmael. Our chief Levitical expert is Raul Follower. Our head of biblical ancestry is genealogy. Our staff cowboy poet loved the summer series, Psalm Elliott. Our resident Disney song expert is Zebedee Doodah.
I'm going to be letting them go pretty soon.
Okay. In honor of our nation's 250th birthday, Uncle Psalm works here. Uncle Psalm. And the new staff hire, made it through all of the rounds, all of the personality tests.
Yeah.
Yes. Director of Jewish Canine Celebrations.
Is this you?
No. Director of Jewish Canine Celebrations, Bark Mitzvah. Bark Mitzvah. Get it? You laughed at that. You like that one.
Just because I could picture you. Yeah. and your canine self.
And me giggling when I wrote it.
Yes, absolutely.
Final.
Probably pretzel barking. As you wrote it.
Barking at absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And the best advice we ever gave, or ever heard
or gave. Trust God, take it out.
See ya.